Hello and welcome back. This video is about building a simple event manager. And a special thanks to all my supporters. Thank you for helping me help others. So we've seen that we can set up event dispatchers on actors, which can be bound to, and then when the dispatcher is called, all actors that have bound to it are triggered. The problem with how we built this, however, is that any component that wants to bind to this specific dispatcher needs access to this enemy. So we're going to move this functionality around a little, but it will continue working much the same. So to do that, we're going to go to our blueprints folder. We're going to create a new actor blueprint class. We're going to call this BP Event Manager. In here, all we're doing is adding a new event dispatcher. So it'll be called on enemy died. The input will just be the enemy. And this is type BP enemy base. In our BP game mode, instead of just dragging the event manager into the level like we've done with some of the other managers, we're just going to directly spawn it here. So this will be an event manager. And as a reminder, you can't just compile with a spawn here because it complains about the spawn transform. It's because there's no default zeroed out value for the transform itself, but if you split it, it puts in defaults for the 3 vectors that are needed. And for this, we're just going to promote it to a variable and call it event manager. And then we need to be able to access it in other actors, so we're going to put it into our function library. So we'll just duplicate our get tower manager, call it get event manager. Make sure the right variable is being called. And I hit enter too quickly. Needs to be the one down here. And then for our return value, we need to also rename this and change the type. And then back in our enemy base, instead of calling the on died down here, we'll just get rid of these two. We need to call our get event manager. Make sure it's valid. And we can call an event dispatcher on another actor directly. So we're just doing that here, and we're sending an oops. Reference to self. However, the one problem we have here is the rest of this function. I mean, there should be no state where this is not valid, but since we're doing it this way, I'm going to throw a sequence in here to make sure this stuff gets run. That looks good. And then in our wave manager, where we're actually subscribing to that event, oh, probably shouldn't delete this yet. Go into the wave manager first. In our spawn enemy function, this is where we were binding to it. So we're just going to take this, we're going to cut it, get rid of this little bit. We're going to, instead of putting this on per enemy, we only need to actually call it and bind to it once. So we can do that right in our event graph. So we can throw that in here. Oops. We need to get the event manager. Oops. And because this one was a different version, we can't do that directly, but we just replace it with this one. Right up there. And you can see it's the same call. We'll just hook this one up instead. Now, if we just throw this into our BeginPlay like this, so this actually introduces a potential bug that can be a pain to track down. So anytime you're accessing another actor in BeginPlay or through like a variable like this, you have a potential condition where BeginPlay is called on the first object and then the second object and the 99% of the time, but then 1% of the time or 0.001% of the time, it's called on the second object before the first. So you may have designed it a certain way and it's like, oh, this is working great. Later on, you'll find that it's just suddenly your event manager or whatever component is just none all the time. So a really simple way to resolve that is we're just going to set a timer and we're going to use set timer for next tick. So the next tick will be the first tick, and BeginPlay on all actors is guaranteed to be called before the first tick. So with that, we can then just drag this out. We'll call add custom event. We'll just call this one time init. And move that over a little bit. Last thing to double check and ensure it's working, we have our onEnemyDied. This is what's being called when it's bound. We're just going to throw a print that says enemy died. Actually, for a little better logging, I'm just going to throw this into an append. Enemy died, space, and we'll just throw the display name of the enemy in there. So with that all done, when we run it, make sure that some of these get killed. Gets down to 0, enemy died. It's purple enemy 0, green enemy 0, purple enemy 1, etc. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video and would like to see more, you know what to do. And if you would like to support this channel, watch these videos 2 weeks early, or just want to download the project files, you can do so through my Patreon linked below.